This is Larry Carlton, American guitarist. Now, if you're looking for the ultimate studio musician that's played in thousands of recording sessions in the 1970s and 1980s with great acts like Steely Dan and Joni Mitchell, also has played on over 100 gold records, you came to the right place. Now, this video will examine the life and music of Larry Carlton. Welcome back to my channel. Larry Eugene Carlton, born March 2nd, 1948, is an American guitarist who built his career as a studio musician in the 1970s and 1980s for acts such as Steely Dan and Joni Mitchell. One of the most sought-after guitarists of his era, Carlton has performed in thousands of recording sessions, recorded on hundreds of albums in many genres, including more than 100 gold records, as well as for television and movies. He has been a member of the jazz fusion group, the Crusaders, and the smooth jazz band Fourplay, and has maintained a long solo career. Carlton was born in Torrance, California, United States, and at the age of 6 began guitar lessons. His interest in jazz came from hearing guitarist Joe Pass on the radio, after which he moved on to jazz guitarist Barney Kessel and Wes Montgomery, and blues guitarist B.B. King. He went to junior college and Long Beach State College while playing professionally at clubs in Los Angeles. During the 1970s, he found steady work as a studio musician on electric and acoustic guitar in a variety of genres: pop, jazz pop, rock, rhythm and blues, soul, and country. Carlton appeared in hundreds of recording sessions with Steely Dan, Joni Mitchell, Linda Ronstadt, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, The Fifth Dimension, Herb Alpert, Christopher Cross, Dolly Parton, Andy Williams, and the Partridge Family. Carlton performed on Mike's Post 1981 theme from Hill Street Blues, which won Grammys for Best Instrumental Composition and for Best Pop Instrumental Performance. In 1982, he appeared on The Nightfly by Donald Fagen, lead singer of Steely Dan. His guitar work on Steely Dan's Kid Charlemagne from their 1976 LP, The Royal Scam, was ranked number 80 on a list of the best guitar songs by Rolling Stone magazine. Carlton recorded his debut album, With a Little Help from My Friends, in 1968. In the mid-70s, he built a home studio and called it Room 335 after the Gibson ES-335, an electric guitar he often played. He has recorded most of his albums from Room 335. In 1988, with his solo career in ascent, he was shot in the throat by a teenager outside Room 335 and suffered nerve and vocal cord damage, which delayed completion of the album he was working on at the time, On Solid Ground. His left arm was paralyzed, and for 6 months he was unable to play more than a few notes. Carlton produced 6 albums from 1978 to 1984. His version of Sleepwalk by Santo Farina climbed the pop and adult contemporary charts. From 1985 to 1990, he did various solo projects, including the live album Last Night. Carlton was commissioned to compose music for the King of Thailand in honor of the King's birthday. He recorded Jazz King in 2008 with a jazz orchestra that included Tom Scott, Nathan East, and Earl Klugh. Some of his awards and honors include Grammy Award for Best Pop Instrumental Performance, theme for Hill Street Blues in 1981, Grammy Award for Best Pop Instrumental Performance, Minute by Minute in 1987, Grammy Award for Best Pop Instrumental Album, No Substitutions, Live in Osaka 2001, Grammy Award for Best Contemporary Instrumental Album, Take Your Pick 2010. On a personal note, I first heard Larry Carlton's playing in the early 1970s underneath the covers late at night with my lucky red transistor radio. The song that would come on the radio was from Joni Mitchell, entitled Help Me, from the Court and Spark album. I believe it came out in 1974. That song, Help Me, was one of my favorites. Still is one of my favorites. It was the major seventh chords, it was the horn arrangement, it was Joni's voice, her writing, and it was that guitar track that really tied it together for me. At that time, that was Larry Carlton. I did not know that was Larry Carlton until much later. I went back, looked at the liner notes, and saw it was him. I'm going to fast forward to 1980. My brand new stereo system, popping a record down on the turntable. The album is Michael Frank's Sleeping Gypsy. First song there was The Lady Wants to Know. As I dropped the needle on that album, there was a really cool guitar riff that started off that song, Lady Wants to Know, by Larry Carlton. That's the first time I ever heard his name or read his name, and I've been following him in liner notes since then. Fast forward again to me getting into my Steely Dan pop, jazz, funk, rock phase, and his guitar solo on Kid Charlemagne. Who else would you want in the studio to do the guitar solo but Larry Carlton? I'm also going to say that in 1980, Gaucho album by Steely Dan came out, and the Third World Man song and Larry Carlton solo on that song. It was a dark album, it was a dark song, it was a dark solo, but there was something that stuck with me, that was seared into my brain, that I knew I loved that solo and that song. Now, in research for doing this video, I will say this is the first guitar player video I have done. And the reason being that Larry has played on some of my favorite songs of all time, and trying to be a music aficionado and really do research on who writes the songs, who mixes the songs, produces the songs, plays on the songs, it just keeps leading me back to Larry Carlton's name. Now, he has played with so many other of my favorites, and I just found out that he played with John Clemmer on that Touch album from 1975. The list is almost endless. So as I've said, Joni Mitchell, John Clemmer, Al Jarreau, Michael Franks, Paul Anka, Barbra Streisand, Herb Alpert, America, Anita Baker, Christopher Cross. The list goes on and on and on. This guy has played on hundreds of albums in many different genres. He's played on more than 100 gold records. This guy has the magic touch. I'm gonna say he's my favorite guitarist of all time. I wanted to do a video as a tribute to Larry's playing. He has been on so many of my favorite songs that I had to tip my hat, do a tribute video to Larry Carlton. Thank you, Larry Carlton. I hope you enjoyed this video on one of my favorite guitarists of all time. Now, if you've got a band or musician you'd like featured on this YouTube channel, pop it in the comments section. I'll make another video. Thanks for dropping by. Rock on.